It's time once again for Sports Talk. I'm your host, KOSU's Michael Cross, along with sportscaster and journalist Brent Weber. Brent, the OU and OSU men's basketball teams, the season's come to an end over the weekend at the NCAA tournament. The Sooners and Cowboys were both knocked out in the first round of the playoffs. What are your thoughts on the seasons for the two teams?
Well, expectations were different, I think, heading into the year, and I think OU finished on they were back in the tournament. They'd had their years of slaps on the wrist for previous coaching problems by the NCAA. They were back in the tournament. They lost to a Cinderella North Dakota State. Cameron Clark played his last game, really improved down the stretch, but hey, they finished 23-10. They're awfully young, and I really like the direction that Lon Kruger's team is heading. I have to be honest, depending on what players come out early out of the Big 10, mainly the guys at Big 12, the guys at Kansas, and that one guy we'll talk about in a minute at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma could be among the dark horse favorites in the Big 12 next year. OSU, we mentioned it going in, but you can't have the internal struggles as much as they love their coach. And I like Travis Ford. He's a good recruiter. They just couldn't get it back together to sustain a tournament run despite all that talent. The key player is Marcus Smart, and the question is, after 23 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists, 6 steals in their final game, a loss, is he coming back?
Right.
All projections, early draft projections that I've seen, and I don't put a lot of stock into those things except they kind of underscore the obvious, he would be a lottery pick. Look, depending on who else comes out at his position in the NBA draft, it's hard to say if he'll be back. I hope he comes back because I believe guys should stay 2 or 3 years, 3 years at least in college. I think they get better and stronger. But that's a tough call for Marcus Smart and the direction of that program if he doesn't come back.
And we'll talk about it once we know what's going to happen there. Meanwhile, the Cowgirls stayed alive to advance to the Sweet 16, defeating Purdue Monday night 73-66. Unfortunately, the ladies head into Saturday night's game against number 1 seeded Notre Dame. Oh, that's not who you want to pick for your Sweet 16.
Yeah, and in the NCAA women's tournament, you are playing on home courts essentially. So they beat Purdue in hostile territory. Now they're going to play Notre Dame, and the best team since Baylor, the Brittany Griner Baylor teams, and they're running the table. They're great. They beat a good Pac-12 team 73-66 to advance. So, if Brittany Martin can keep going 20 points, 20 rebounds, they'll be in good shape. Big question is Tiffany Bias turned her ankle. She did come back into the game, but will there be any lasting effect? She's their superstar. She really is an extraordinary player. If she's back and she's strong, they make their shots, they're in it. You just never know what's going to happen. But I think they have had a remarkable run since the tragedy a few years ago. They have put together their best 3 years in a row, I believe, in school history, if you do the math. And it's pretty impressive, and I think their university should be proud of them.
It certainly would be an amazing comeback if they could win that one. Now, the Oklahoma City Thunder are still dealing with injuries and a scary moment when knees collided against Toronto Friday night. With just 4 weeks left in the season, how is the team looking?
Yeah, the season's going to be over in a hurry. We're getting down. There aren't many home games left. You're talking about Russell Westbrook, of course, and he says he's fine. MRI's fine. Everything looks he's healing, but they're going to continue to keep him from playing both ends of a back-to-back. He could have played against Denver. He wasn't needed against Denver. The arrival of Caron Butler has been a huge plus for this team. He's a pro. He's a veteran. He hits shots. He steps up. He posts. He does so many things. It's going to take a lot of pressure off. So I think Russell will be back. Thabo Sefolosha is, to me, the critical guy. Kendrick Perkins, that's a longer haul. Not sure when he's going to be back. But when they can get Thabo back, that changes the personality of their starting lineup. I mean, they've won 4 straight, 6 out of 7, something like that since that little stretch. And that is with 3 of their 5 starters out. You tell me anybody in the NBA, other than maybe the San Antonio Spurs, who they are most like and who they are chasing for the best record in the West again.
Yeah.
So very interesting. 3 straight home games coming up, and enjoy them while they're here, because the rest of April pretty much they are gone.
Yeah.
They have a couple of road home games after that, but they are gone until the postseason. So, hopefully they get the starters sprinkling back in there. But boy, I really like the addition of Caron Butler. I just think that's gonna, and he's fit in so well. So I'm not worried about them if Thabo can come back and if Russell can stay in the lineup and be at 100% health by the time the playoffs start.
Now, we have turned the corner to spring, which to me always means baseball. The Oklahoma City Redhawks start their season against Round Rock next Thursday. How does the team look this year?
Astros have, they had one of the great, people don't realize, the Houston Astros had a long, sustained, wonderful stretch of outstanding teams during an era, unfortunately for them, that the Atlanta Braves had an even better stretch of outstanding teams. Astros had some great teams, but they retooled their whole organization, top to bottom, ownership down. And I think this is a year where the fruition is in who's gone. Favorites who were in Oklahoma City the last couple of years, like a Brett Wallace, J.D. Martinez was going to be a big star. Those guys were jettisoned dumped by the team, the organization. They didn't send J.D. Martinez down; they sent him packing. It'll be interesting to see what signings they do in the next couple of weeks. But Oklahoma City fans can expect to see some people that are really close to being good and need to spend a year here. George Springer, one of their top prospects, didn't have a good spring training, which is good for the Astros because they really want him to start the year here. But he put up monster numbers last year, including some time in Oklahoma City. He'll be in right field for them. Delino DeShields should be here in Oklahoma City. John Singleton, big left-handed hitting first baseman, could provide them some power. And then I think we'll get a good long look at right-hand pitcher Josh Zeid. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Pitching's going to be a different story at the beginning because they'll start with 8 guys in the bullpen up in Houston. So it may not be a strength out of the gate at AAA for them. But we'll see who gets picked up to fill out their roster. As everybody knows, AAA roster fills out over this next week. The big thing for me, and I do want to make sure everybody understands, Tony DeFrancesco, the manager of the team, is going to miss the start of the year. He was diagnosed with cancer, and it's thus far undisclosed during basically during just normal checkups to start the year. And he's been undergoing treatment, and things are, from what we understand, are going well. But Tony is a first-class, great guy, really young guy. He actually was a catcher, backup catcher in the Reds organization when I did play-by-play for the Chattanooga Lookouts back in the late 80s. And Tony's just a great guy, and he's going to be a good major league manager one day. But, I hope he's back in the lineup in a hurry or out there in that third base box managing this team. But he won't be with them at the start of the year. And, boy, I hope he gets well in a hurry, and he's a first-class guy. Tom Lawless will step in and manage the club while he's out, and there won't be any rush to get him back. He needs to be healthy and strong. But he's, what we're told is that the cancer was found early, and that's always really important.
Yeah, we'll certainly send our prayers out to Tony for a speedy recovery return to the Oklahoma City Redhawks. Brent Weber is a freelance journalist and sportscaster and author of The Sports Guy, Scorecard Scribblings from an Ordinary